Primal strength.
What's up, YouTube? Bill Mack here once again with Pro Wrestling Unleashed. This week's episode is the Raw wrap-up for October the 3rd, October 3rd, 2016. Coming off of just 8 days after WWE's pay-per-view, Raw exclusive only pay-per-view. Clash of Champions. I thought that it was a pretty decent show overall. Had some good matches. Surprised, what happened on them, but it was a pretty good show. We'll just get right into the results. The show opened up with Roman Reigns coming out to the ring and proudly as the WWE US Champion. They showed how his and Rusev's matchup happened and how the rematch happened. Well, he's out there talking, and then all of a sudden he gets interrupted by Lana, which looked very, very hot. May I add a little black number she had on? I mean, looked really gorgeous, typically. But she came out there and she claimed that Rusev didn't know she was out there, and Roman said, "Look, we're in L.A. They were at Staples Center for Raw, and with all the cameras and stuff and glitz of L.A. and Hollywood, that he knew that Rusev had to know she was out there." So she tries to lay down the challenge, and she wants Roman Reigns to once again give Rusev another rematch, because as we saw what happened in last week's rematch, they both got counted out. So Reigns ends up insulting her and making her upset, and she ends up telling him to go to hell. And then out of nowhere, Rusev comes out, and both guys start going and brawling, and it ends up where Rusev knocks Roman Reigns over the barrier. He goes up to the ramp, and he's holding up the U.S. title. And out of nowhere, Roman Reigns comes out the dark, and Superman punches Rusev and lays him out, and he grabs the title, and he tells Roman Reigns that if Roman Reigns tells Rusev that if he's going to hell, he's bringing both of them with him, and that he will indeed give him a rematch, but it will be at their next upcoming pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, and it will be in a Hell in a Cell. So what a way to kick off your next pay-per-view, WWE Raw. Have the matchup, the U.S. Championship between yourself and Rusev for this. And I like this feud. I think it's a good feud. I think that this is just what WWE needed to have with these guys. I mean, I'd like the feud that they're having. It's good to have a lot of unresolved and to kind of keep it progressing between these two. Extend it out a little bit, a month, 2 months, something like that. I mean, give them a little longer. I thought it was good. We see the first match of the night. It recaps T.J. Perkins winning the Cruiserweight Championship and then defeating Brian Kendrick, and Brian Kendrick turning on T.J. Perkins. They give the backstory behind T.J. Perkins' life and how Kendrick he worked out with him in high school. They were kind of both from the area, L.A. area. And it was surprising enough because I really did not see Brian Kendrick winning, but in the matchup, even though it was a non-title matchup, Brian Kendrick ended up pulling out the win. I mean, these guys were going back and forth, and TJ tried to do the knee lock, I believe is what his submission move is on Kendrick. Kendrick got out of it, and then Kendrick ended up hitting his submission move, the Captain's Hook, to make T.J. Perkins tap out. So now we see this feud continuing on and progressing between T.J. Perkins and Brian Kendrick for the Cruiserweight Championship. So now I imagine that since Brian Kendrick beat T.J. Perkins in a non-title bout, this will only give him reason to get another title shot for the Cruiserweight title. So the first matchup of the night between T.J. Perkins and Brian Kendrick ends up getting the win by submission. We see in the back, Seth Rollins, Michael Cole having a sit-down interview with Seth Rollins, and he was talking to him about Triple H favoring Kevin Owens now. Kevin Owens being Triple H's pick. He talked about how it was such a mistake for Triple H to choose him, and and it was just funny because he said that Kevin Owens has always said he's the Kevin Owens show. Well, Seth Rollins, the interview, and tells Michael Cole that he's going to be the one to counsel the Kevin Owens show. So I like that he's starting to turn that babyface go for him now. I like him as a babyface. All I need to do now, what I've been praying forever, which they're not going to do, is turn Roman Reigns heel. Now you got all three members of the Shield that are going to be faces. You need some more you need some more heels to create on top of that. So I thought it was a pretty good interview. Squash alert. Just letting you know, folks, this next matchup was another old-fashioned jobber matchup. Again, to show the sheer brutality of Braun Strowman as he takes on this dude called Chase Silver, who said in this ring before he got interviewed that he felt like he had a dream and he moved to Hollywood for dreams, and he had a dream that he was going to beat Braun Strowman tonight. And good luck for that happening, because he ended up Braun Strowman it wasn't in his dream. Braun Strowman was his nightmare, as Braun Strowman just totally, between the shoulder blocks and punches, he just totally annihilated poor old Chase Silver, and really you just couldn't help. And he ends up pinning him with the 1-2-3 with the running power slam to get the win and send poor Chase Silver back to wherever it was he came from. It was just a squash match, and I get that. And then after the matchup, he told in the interview, he said that he was sick of Mick Foley wasting his talents on these jobbers, and he was ready he was ready for somebody on the roster, I guess, and which is good. I'm about ready to see that myself. So it's about time that Braun starts fighting people on the roster rather than these little jobber guys and wasting time, which I understood why he done it. Just I like seeing actual action. We see Kevin Owens and New Day. They were in the back earlier talking to Ashton Kutcher and stuff, and it was funny, or later on in the night they talked to Ashton Kutcher. So between Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson from the 70s show and The Ranch, it's funny seeing them because they were in tonight's commentating for tonight's matchup. So we see that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho are talking, and they were in the ring, and they were talking about Jericho helping Owens, retain the Universal title. And, he was telling Owens, hey, since we're such a great tag team, Jericho, why don't we just go ahead and go for the tag team titles against New Day, And then he said, and then Kevin Owens was like, well, I got a lot going on. I'm Universal Champion. I got a lot on my plate right now, and we'd have to fight him in a non-title match, then have to fight him in a title match. And Jericho said, hey, that's all I'm asking of you. It says, it's not like I'm asking you to challenge for your Universal title. And everybody's like, ooh, and you can hear some fans cheering Jericho. And then Kevin Owens was like, okay, I understand. You're right. Let's challenge him for it. So, the New Day came out, and then they cut this long promo out there, which I thought was pretty funny for WWE standards. So, New Day cut a promo with them about them being the entertaining duo, and how the New Day had accomplished what they did by being over 400 days as tag team champions, and how they'd known each other for a long time, got things done, and all that. So, looks like later down the road somewhere we may end up seeing a feud between Owens and Jericho versus the New Day, which, they've got their hands full, because also, too, is you got Cesaro and Sheamus tag team coming up, too. So, we'll see how it goes. But that was a pretty good segment there with them. Up next, Titus ONeil took on Sami Zayn, the man that nobody really cares about. Sammy, I was surprised because Titus ONeil had cut this promo about, I guess they're repackaging him or giving him a new gimmick, and then Sami Zayn ends up beating him. He hit that hell of a kick, what he calls, on Titus ONeil to get the 1-2-3. So pretty much a match that I was surprised Sami Zayn won, considering how strong Titus ONeil is and stuff. So it was shocking to me because Sami Zayn really never wins matches. I mean, he needs a match up to his entitlement, which would probably be like a jobber match. He needs to wrestle a good jobber match against somebody. I'm surprised he got the win though. But Sami Zayn does defeat Titus ONeil and pick up the win. Up next is our boring moment, one of our boring moments of the night. The Golden Truth comes out. Nobody really cares. We'll go and our Truth is rapping and remix with Gold Dust, and the club come to the ring and are just watching them rapping and stuff. And I like the club. I just think they need to go ahead and win those titles because I think they should have gotten the titles by now. New Day's already had them unless they're waiting until after December to do it. And folks, that's like another 2 months away. So you got another 2 to 3 pay-per-views. The New Day have it, and then finally possibly losing that roadblock in December on the 18th. But it's what they're calculating now if they want to defeat if they want to break Demolition's records. Looks like they want all the records to be broken by these newer age guys. You look at AJ Lee's record broken by Nikki Bella. You look at CM Punk breaking the WWE title record. You look now at the New Day going to try to break the tag team titles. So you want all these newer guys to break records just for the sake of breaking them, even though they really don't need to break them. They had a good run, but sometimes something too long. I mean, if you give them the titles and drop them when if they do hold them to break the record, nobody wants to see New Day win the titles again. That's just it when you have it that long. It's like with Cena. Cena was getting titles so much, nobody wants to see Cena keep winning the title. And even though he hasn't had it in like a year or two, people still kind of like, oh, Lord, Cena's going to win the title again. It's just because he's had it for so long. So, but Gallows and Anderson end up hitting the Magic Killer on R-Truth and ends up Gallows getting the 1-2-3 pin, and then they hit the Magic Killer on Gold Dust as well. So the club is again making a statement and running right through this tag team division on Raw. So I like the truth, but as I'd said earlier, Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson from That 70s Show, if you remember, and now on The Ranch coming on Netflix in less than a few days, second part of their season. They were talking to Kevin Owens and Jericho backstage, and they were making jokes back and forth about Jericho's putting Masterson and Ashton Kutcher on the list. Oh, and that was one of the funny things, the problem I didn't mention, is Jericho put all three of the New Day on the list. And everybody's it's starting to be funny, Jericho putting people on his list and whatnot, but he ended up putting both those guys on the list. And so Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masters were going to join the Raw announced team for the matchup, the tag team matchup. And so we seen it was a non-title match, and their New Day are fighting him. It's a non-title match, and all of a sudden we see Kevin Owens getting ready to set up for his move, and then Seth Rollins comes out there, and he just stands at the front at the edge of the ramp. Kevin Owens gets distracted by that. New Day ends up hitting the midnight hour, the 1-2-3, allowing the New Day to pick up the win, and then Seth Rollins comes down and hits the pedigree on Chris Jericho while Kevin Owens runs to the top of the ramp, and he looks back, and Rollins tells him, this is what's going to happen to your partner, your best friend. You're not going to come save him. This is what's going to happen to him. So he ends up putting him in the pedigree for that, and you see Seth Rollins celebrating with New Day in the ring. So great segment, I thought. We see a good segment, which is the 5th year anniversary that WWE has teamed with the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so they're wearing their Think Pink or Think About Pink shirts last night, and they gave there were 3 survivors, breast cancer survivors, that were given women's Raw Women's Championships and stuff, and I imagine they'll probably do the same thing with SmackDown with 3 other survivors, but they're recognizing their partnership with breast cancer awareness all this month, so that was always a good sign they did that. It was good to have Enzo and Cass doing that. Kind of caught a little bit because the belts got caught underneath the sheet, and they were trying to pull the sheet over, and it got caught, so I thought that was pretty good. Up next, we have, like I said, we talked about the New Day matchup. Um, After that matchup, it was we see a cruiserweight matchup, which is good. Another cruiserweight matchup, which I like. Just put two of them in there, makes Raw better. Tony Nese, which is the dude that faced T.J. Perkins, I think it was last week. He looks very strong. Looks like Neville, sort of, except he's got a beard. But he defeated Rich Swann. He ends up hitting a pump handle, uh, Michinoku driver. That's what I think that's pronounced that as for the win. Good cruiserweights, good high flying, high spots is typical in that matchup. So Tony Nese, I guess he's going to be one of the main guys in the cruiserweight division. He's a heel, so I see him, pretty much feuding down the road. But the dude is pretty strong and pretty agile for a cruiserweight. As I stated before, they showed earlier in the night where Rusev and Cesaro were arguing, even with Mick Foley. They were arguing. They couldn't agree on nothing. Sheamus was driving. He blamed Cesaro for the navigation, and Cesaro blamed him for being late driving and getting lost. And then they got in the ring, but then we see that they couldn't have. They were still having trouble getting on the same page during our matchup. But as usual, they ended up getting the win after Sheamus gets the bro kick for the 1, 2, 3, and you see them arguing in the middle of the ring. So this is their little storyline. They're going to be like the odd couple, I guess. One is going to argue against the other, but they're still going to get the job done no matter what. And finally today, folks, and being a first, I believe this is a first, is that there was a women's championship match to main event Raw. Earlier tonight you seen Bayley talk to Sasha Banks and congratulating her and pumping her up on having the main event with Charlotte, and how deserving of it she was and stuff. And then later on, Charlotte was insulting Bayley, and then Dana Brooke got in Bayley's face, and Bayley just threw her up against something in the back and got her hurt, so she wasn't able to make it out there to accompany Charlotte. And I will say, folks, I think the women's matchup was the best matchup of the night. I hope nobody argues with me this, but I thought it was a really good. And Charlotte hit that, but she got on the top rope for that one spot where she twisted like the red hook sorta and landed on top of Sasha. I thought it was a good matchup, and you could see the intensity because when Sasha ended up after Brooke tried to hit natural selection. I mean, not Brooke. Charlotte hit natural selection on Sasha Banks, and she went after Sasha's back the whole matchup. You could tell Sasha's back, but she ended up hitting the bank statement on Charlotte, causing Charlotte to tap. Sasha is now your two-time Raw Women's Champion. You see her in the middle of the ring holding the belt up, and fans were cheering. I thought this was an awesome match. I really did. It's got a good build-up for tonight, good storyline with it, and I just enjoy it. So that's how Raw ended up, was basically having the Raw Women's Championship on the line between Sasha and Charlotte, with Sasha becoming the new Raw Women's Championship. So I hope everybody has enjoyed this edition of Raw Wrap Up, for October the 3rd. If you like this video along with others on my channel, feel free to drop a like. If you want to comment or leave any kind of comments, drop me a comment. Subscribe to my channel. Retweet it out to other people, have other people subscribe to it. If you like more wrestling content, this is the place to be. So once again, this is Bill Mack, Pro Wrestling Unleashed. Until next time, everyone take care and take it easy.